Hey everyone, and we are live, and guess what day it is? It is Fire Day! That's right, it is Fire Day, and we are honored and privileged to have Dr. Addyson-Zhang, I think I pronounced that last right, yes, close, with us. And let me tell you, she is a wonderful woman, a very fiery woman because it's Fire Day, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about her. So I is an educator and an entrepreneur. She received her MA and PhD in communications from Syracuse University and the University of Maryland. Whew. She is the founder of Classroom Without Walls, an alternative school for entrepreneurship. As an Adobe education leader, I is passionate about incorporating social media. Hear that, everybody? Social media and creative technologies to enhance student learning and to acquire skills that help them and ready them really for the future. She has been featured in Forbes, Inside Higher Education, Pearson Education, Mark Schaefer's book, among other things, and I host a weekly, yes, a weekly live streaming show herself in which she interviews leading social media and digital marketers such as Seth Godin. I additionally contributes to Entrepreneur and Thrive Global, and she's worked closely to develop a workbook for HubSpot's Academy's social media certification. Oh my goodness! She frequently speaks at academic and industry conferences such as VidCon. Hear that, everybody? VidCon, Social Media Week, Lima, and more. Welcome.
Oh my God, that is quite an introduction. Thank you so much. I was like, is that me or someone else? So thank you for having me on the show. Very, very honored.
Well, thank you. So where are we calling from? Because you know we're live streaming from across the world, so where are you based? Where is home for you?
So we literally just moved from South Korea back to the United States. So right now I'm in Philadelphia.
Woohoo! Now, I'm interested in a lot of things. You know, how you came to do Classroom Without Walls, because that is very interesting in itself. But can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, especially you as a child? Did you always love communication? Did you always love talking to people, wanting to know things, wanting to speak to people? Has that always been a passion for you?
Actually not. I actually grew up in China, and I came to the United States to study in my early 20s. So growing up in China, I wasn't really allowed to be who I was because of all the social norms, expectations. So I guess I was a construction of society, of Chinese culture, values of my parents. So I truly discovered who I was, like my authentic self, and how much I love and I'm passionate about communication, PR, social media after I left China, after I came to the United States. So coming to the United States was to study, and also more importantly, to discover who I was by being in a different country and outside of my comfortable zone. And talking about my journey to start my own company, and a few years ago, I have been working in higher education for 10 plus years. And a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I teach social media, personal branding, and marketing and PR classes. But what I discovered from my own students was that many of my students, even though we call them, digital natives, they didn't really understand how to use social media to build their personal brand. Even last semester, I had a student who didn't even or have never ever heard of LinkedIn. She was like, what is this LinkedIn? And so many of my students are actually like that. So I really took the blame or the gap personally, because on the one hand, I was talking about those things a lot in all of my social media PR communication classes. But then on the other hand, my students had no clue what I was talking about. They didn't really apply what I was teaching in the classroom. And I was like, you know what? I was the problem. I didn't embrace what I was teaching in the classroom. So since that day, I still remember it was like 2015, and I decided to radically change how I use social media as a college professor. I started to walk the talk. So everything I ask my student to do, to be on Twitter, to engage in Twitter chat, to start blogging, to launch a live streaming show, everything I asked my students to do, I was also doing this myself. And very interestingly, the more active I was on social media, the more social media was changing my life, changing my career, and just changing everything. And this year, I actually resigned from my job, and I'm building my own school. So the way you mentioned classroom without walls, this started about 2.5 years ago. I launched a live streaming show to reinvent traditional classroom teaching and learning of social media. So I started that show where Seth Godin came to the show, Mark Schaefer, and so many other amazing friends, digital marketers came to the show. That's how this kind of idea got started. Yeah, so that's kind of, in a nutshell, my journey and my story was really I started to be a better teacher. But I didn't expect to monetize, to speak, all those things, they all came to me as a result of being active on social media. Everything happened to me organically, completely organically. Yeah.
That's wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to give a big shout out right now. Hey, Robert, thanks so much for watching. Hey, Joaquin. Hey, Lori Knutson out of North Carolina. How are you doing today, girl? Thank you so much for watching. Hey, I'm on multiple channels, so everyone shout out if you have questions. I'm going to go back and forth. So that is interesting. You said something that really struck me because I completely get it. My husband also actually resigned from his professor job at the university. And I would say, I know he recently did, and to work on his own business. And I see that though, he frequently told me that the professors didn't do that. Most of them aren't online, and it's not a common thing. The LinkedIn, we just put up the picture and the name, and that's good enough. We just so it's got like a business card up online. And it's interesting to hear that.
Exactly.
And it's interesting to hear that the younger generation, even though they are technology savvy, they can do things like we see the little ones that are 5 and 6. They can do these amazing things with Xbox and all that stuff. But when it comes to other sorts of technology, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram, it's almost like some of them in some natures, like LinkedIn is very foreign to them. They think, oh, it's just for stuffy people. It's just for stuffy people.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on that?
And even for Instagram, almost all of my students are on Instagram. But if you look at how they do captions, and they don't know how to tell stories. They don't know how to use this to build their personal brand. They are very savvy. They know how to do this, they know how to do that, but they don't know how to be more strategic with this channel. It is not just about social media to post a picture. It's really about what you are going to accomplish by being on social media. What is that bigger why? Why are you on social media? It's not to just send like stupid pictures, but even if you do that, what is the bigger goal that you are trying to accomplish? So I think my role as a teacher is to really help my students understand that, and even many professionals. Almost all of us, we use social media, but so few of us are very intentional and strategic with this free, amazing platform to grow our business, to build our personal brand, to generate leads. So I just had this right before our interview. I just had a conversation with my friend, and we were talking about LinkedIn. So she shared with me how LinkedIn has generated so many leads for her. She's like, you know what, even if I retire, I have enough business, I have enough money to have a very comfortable life. So that is the power of LinkedIn or social media in general. But so few of our young generation, they don't understand. They use social media for entertainment. And many young, like big old people like us, we use social media as entertainment or for social reasons, stay in touch with grandparents, with parents, parents, with friends. But this is a new level that people need to learn, need to take classes, need to go to conferences. It doesn't come to us like as a second nature. We have to cultivate that. Social media, digital literacy, it is an acquired skill that we have to learn to make an effort to improve our own craft.
Agreed. And I love what you said. Hey, Tim Allison, thanks so much. Tim Allison was on Fire Day last week. Being intentional on social media is so important. It certainly is, Tim. And Jennifer McClure-McKinley, also a former Fire Day, she's online. Thank you again. You're right, being intentional. I mean, it's okay. If people, like you said, want to be online and they're just goofing off. Hey, it's a pretty dog picture. Hey, it's pretty. But if you're complaining to yourself or others and saying, I'm not getting something out of it, instead of being complacent about it and going, oh, poor me, like you said, we have to make an effort to learn something new. It's not going to just come to us just because someone said, here's a free platform. Merry Christmas.
Exactly.
We have to make the effort to try.
Especially nowadays, it's getting more and more crowded, right? Like across different social media platforms, it is getting harder and harder to rise above the digital noise. So you really have to be very intentional, very strategic. Like even the content, like for me, every time like right now, I'm building a 2-week immersion program in Singapore to cultivate students' entrepreneurship. So there will be learning and there will be practicing, and they're also going to have fun. And so for that, to prepare for the launch, I actually created a content calendar to talk about issues and problems in the education space, things that I think are so important are not being highlighted in our contemporary educational system. So I'm very intentional with every single piece of content that I put there in the internet. Like even like I share with you for this program I'm doing in Singapore. So my content calendar, so far I created maybe 4 or 5 pieces of content. Every single piece of content trended on LinkedIn. So I think, like what I learned from my own mistakes is really to stop using social media for the sake of being online or saying something about this or that, very scattered, being all over the place, but to become really strategic and intentional with every single piece of content that I'm producing.
Exactly. That's 100%. Our time is precious, and the time of others is precious. If they take the time to watch something, they took the time out of their day to see what you had to say or see what your post was. I hear frequently people are like, oh, it's just about every day. I'm posting 3, 4, 5 times a day and all this stuff. And I'm of the mindset, that's great and all, but like you said, if you're intentional, for me, it is quality over quantity. When I post something, it is when it's deliberate. I don't post something sometimes every day on LinkedIn because I am deliberate with what I'm posting. I'm deliberate because of the message that I want to get across, because of the feedback that I want to hear. There is a reason why I'm posting it. I just don't want to post a pretty picture and go, oh, this is what's happening, because here's the thing. It's not a use of time for others, and it's not a use of time for myself either.
Totally. And people have to be patient. There's no overnight success. There is over time success. You really have to do the homework. Even when I booked, so earlier this year, I booked Seth Godin on my show, which was a big deal for me. And people ask me, how did you make that happen? I just sent him an email and he responded to my email. He was like, I checked out your work. You were showing up, you were doing the work. So therefore I said yes to come to your show. So I think that part, being consistent and showing up on a regular basis. You have a live streaming show, I have a live streaming show, and I also travel a lot. So nowadays I have to arrange my travel schedule based on my live streaming show. Or when I go to different countries, last week, 2 weeks ago, I was in Singapore and I went live at 5 a.m. Singapore time. So it is hard work, I'd rather sleep than getting up at 4 a.m. do my makeup, all those things, get ready for the show. But like if you are serious about this, if you want to pursue this as a business, this is hard work. Social media is free, true. You do have to put in the work. And you have to show up consistently to really be able to leverage how powerful all those platforms are. It doesn't matter where you are on LinkedIn or Instagram, you just have to be really intentional and consistent to really master that particular platform wherever your audience is.
Yeah, and I think that's what people do is we hear a lot of women especially that seem to be overwhelmed with it. What do you mean that there's Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and YouTube, and how am I supposed to do it all? And like you said, if you go into social media, if you go into content creation, being very intentional with what you're posting, then everything plans itself because you're not overwhelmed. You know, Brandy and I we plan 90 days at least in advance, but we intentionally plan. That way, if something comes up, cool, then we can make a last minute post, but we're intentional with it so it doesn't overwhelm us. And like, that's one of those mindsets is thinking that you have to post just for the sake of posting. Well, no, I mean, you might as well just chunk your money and just say, here's your money because your time is valuable.
Exactly. What I also noticed, because I used to post random content, and the people who engage with me, of course, are also random, right? From different walks of life. But now I become a lot more intentional. So the people who actually engage with me are exactly the people I want to talk to. So it works out perfectly. And I think that is a result of me being a lot more intentional. Yeah, not trying to be all over the place or talking about so many things, but to really focus, stay in our lane, whatever field that you want to become known for. For me, it's education or alternative education, but whatever it is for you, stay focused, at least at the very beginning. So once you become like a bigger name, and then you can talk about other things and people transfer that credibility into different field. But if you are just starting out, it's better to stay in one lane so nobody gets confused about what you do or what exactly do you do, what offers do you help, like how like services do you do. So if people are asking you that question, it means that you are very confusing. Your messaging, your branding is not very clear. So it is time to go back and to focus on yourself and create a strategy so that you can really maximize the time that you are on whatever social media platform that you want to use.
Exactly. There's only so many hours in the day, and I agree with you. Staying focused, having a direction, staying in your lane. I love that term because, you know, someone posted on LinkedIn today. They said, do you ever turn away business that's not the right fit? I have in my live streaming company, because if it's not the right fit for me and them, and I know another videographer that would be better suited for them, because it's not my specialty, I am happy to transfer that to somebody else. It's not my gift, it's not my specialty, but I know several people that are. I love to stay in my lane, focus on what I do, focus on what I do well, because you can't hit everybody in this market. You don't want to hit everybody in this market. We can't service everybody in this market. You want to be good at what you do. You want to be the expert at what you do, and you want to share your knowledge with other people that are looking for that same knowledge. And if we hone in on that and really target to that, then we can really service that clientele really well.
Totally. You want to make it easier for your audience to understand you, to remember you, because all of us, we are bombarded with so much content and so many things. And if you are just so confusing all over the place, it is very hard for people to remember you, what you do.
Exactly. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you because we've been talking about LinkedIn. I want to come back to LinkedIn because that's a hot topic right now is LinkedIn. Now, I have a lot of people, you have a landing page, so you have a website, because social media is all over the place. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Pinterest, but you have this great place where you cultivate people back to. There are a lot of people that just have social media platforms and they don't have a landing page. However, and recently really, there have been a lot of issues with people posting things on Facebook or Instagram, and then they've been banned completely blocked on social media, because here's the thing, people don't realize social media isn't yours. It's really somebody else's. But your website is yours, and you have control of it. So what are your thoughts about migrating people back to a central location?
Oh, I think it's so, so important. Here's a quick story. So you have a live streaming show, I have a live streaming show. I think earlier this year, might be in March, I was about to go live that day, and I was on Facebook, and then Facebook was not working. I was so stressed out. I was refreshing. I think I was in South Korea at the time. I was like, there must be something wrong in South Korea. So I asked some of my friends in the United States, and Facebook was not working either. So at that time, that was my wake up call. I was like, you know what? I cannot just rely on this one specific social media platform that I don't even own to host my personal content. So that was really my wake up call. So I think it is so, so, so important that we develop our own email list, that we master, we build our own territory to host our own content. It is so, so, so important, especially for people who don't know you. They don't want to, if they don't know you, they don't want to go to LinkedIn to check out who you are, and then go to Facebook and then go to Instagram. That's too much work. Nobody ever does that. So they only want to go to one place to know who you are, what you do, what is your social proof. Right now, for my own program in Singapore, I'm in the process of asking people to sponsor my event, trying to talk to big name companies, HubSpot, Adobe, and Microsoft. And there's one thing that all of them have been asking me to show them. That is my website. That's why I'm redesigning my website right now. But that shows how important it is. Nobody asks me, hey, what is your Facebook link? What is your LinkedIn link? What is your Twitter, Instagram? I'm going to go check you out. Nobody does that, especially if you are asking for something from them. You want to make this as easy as possible. 5 seconds, they go to the site, they kind of have a sense of who you are, watch some videos. So it is so, so, so important.
Yeah, because from that one landing page, you can link back to all of those. You can link back to your Facebook and Twitter and make it easy.
Exactly.
And all those things.
Exactly.
And people don't realize that it's a multi-pronged approach. People find you from the SEO of Google, so they find you via website traffic. They also find you from social media. They find you from paid advertising. And those three help people migrate their decision about you. But bottom line, if everything were to turn off and social media decides that they're going to take it from you, which they can, then your SEO traffic becomes the most important for your website. I mean, Google traffic is almost 80%. And so we need that. We need that landing page where people can buy services from you.
Exactly. So I put all of my blog articles from Medium to my website, and my live streaming shows from YouTube, from LinkedIn, different places to my own website. So I bring in everything back to my own website. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that, because we talked about that, the magic of being to repurpose and distribute or put it back in one central location. So how much do you redistribute? I mean, you're going to put something like what you did today on LinkedIn. Does it go other places? Do you share that to other platforms to capitalize on your content?
Yes. Why not, right? You produce the content. Why do you want to try to hide it? Put it to every single place on planet Earth if you can discover this place, and share it. It is so important. And what I discovered, because I used to host my live streaming show only on Facebook. I think Facebook, because it was earlier, one of the first few social media platforms that allowed people to go live. So that's how I started my journey. But this year, I'm like going live on different places, and this has helped me so much, because most people don't want to move from one place to another place. So if they are comfortable with Twitter, they want to watch my show on Periscope. If they are comfortable with LinkedIn, they watch my show on LinkedIn. Or people on Facebook, the same logic. So that is the nature of many people. So you want to be where they are instead of forcing everybody to come to where you are. So if you can go to multiple places, if you can blast out your content to different channels and make sure you actually customize, because I do think that every single social media is different. Don't try to just copy and paste. Sometimes it doesn't work. So if you can do that, if you can figure out or have a team, definitely do it. And you will see that you can reach out to more people, have more exposure, and more people will discover you.
I think you touched on something. Go ahead.
Sorry. So I recently discovered this feature. I don't know how many of your audience are actually live or active on Twitter. So Twitter, they just have this new feature called Media Studio. So if you go to Media Studio and under that, there's one called Producer, and under Producer, there's another one called Live Cut, CUT. So that, oh my God, it's a game changer. So if you go live on Periscope, so you can actually go to live cut and to natively edit to get 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes video clips from Twitter. It is, oh my God, so much easier. So if you, anyone watching this right now or replay, if you are active on Twitter, definitely go there, check it out. I think that is Twitter's message to encourage us to be more active, to use more live video. But it is a game changer. So I actually got quite a few video clips. I love that feature. Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
No, I just wanted to give a big shout out. Hey, Loretta, thanks so much for tuning in. I agree. Every audience is different. Your Twitter audience is different than Instagram, and you're right. That's the power of all the social medias. They are different, but what you said was really pivotal. We have to listen to what that audience wants on that platform. We don't want them having to hunt for us. We want to make it easy and accessible, and every platform is different on how they want to absorb the media. So we have to pay attention to what is it they want, what is it they need, and how can we deliver that in the most cost-effective way for us and them, and time-efficient way for us and them, because their time is valuable.
Exactly. And Instagram stories. I love Instagram stories, and my Instagram stories gain like 3 times amount of engagement compared to my newsfeed. I feel like nobody was checking what I actually share on my newsfeed, but everybody, I get like a few hundreds views on my Instagram stories. People like engage with me. That is what I use to humanize who I am, right? So on LinkedIn, on different channels, people see me as Dr. I, everything's working out pretty well. But on Instagram, you see a totally different side of who I am, me making mistakes, crying, struggling. Oh my God, this is wrong. And so people really get to know me. And I love using Instagram stories for that reason. And I think everyone should do the same. You know, like people, we love doing business with other human beings. We don't connect with logos, we connect with humans. So try to figure out ways that you can humanize who you are. And to me, using Instagram stories is such a great way for my community to truly get to know me. They met my husband, my children. They know that I was moving across the continent. So they know everything about me. And I really like that. Yeah.
I agree. Brandy and I completely 100% agree. We get 300 times more traction on that because, like you said, it's more storytelling. It's more about the behind the scenes. What are you doing when you're, quote, not on your live show? Like, what, do you have a dog? What's your favorite drink? Do you like tequila? I'm a tequila girl, just letting you know. And Brandy's a wine girl. So what do you like? What do you do when you're not, quote, on? What do you do when you're not working? Who are you really? And that's the, like you said, the humanistic part. That's what brings us together. We can no longer just have coffee with everyone in the world. It, used to be you would walk down the street, knock on your neighbors. Can I have coffee? Can I spend and have a croissant with you? Now we're doing that, continents apart. But people have to be connected to you. They have to understand you. They have to trust you. And they do that slowly, like you said, over time.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. 100%, yeah.
So what are your... So we talked a little bit about Insta stories. We talked a little bit about Facebook stories and the different feeds and things. Let's go back to Instagram a little bit. There seems to be a wide range of people in there. We've got some sets, like I said, the older generation that think, oh, it's just a calling card. I just need to put up my picture, and it's an old picture. God bless you. It's an old picture, that you maybe is 20 years. God bless you. It's an old picture. And then we've got the younger generation that are also not online. But then we've got this really, prolific section that seems to really understand it. Do you think that it's because, what LinkedIn used to be is no longer the case? We now have the ability to add videos. We now have the ability to go live. Some people do. Do you think it's because it's changing, or do you think it's more of society changing?
I think maybe a combination of both. And also, I think, like, I don't know, like, if you were also active on Snapchat. So when Snapchat just came out, I remember a few years ago, it was really, really popular. And I was really on Snapchat almost every single day. I spent so much time. I think Snapchat was the platform that kind of introduced us to this type of, vlogging and storytelling and using social media to humanize who we are, to share our stories. And I think Snapchat is kind of the platform that started that, and then more people are like comfortable with this, and then they want to use a platform that they are already familiar with, which is Instagram, to do that type of thing. So I think it's a combination of both. Yeah.
So what do you think is the thing that you're seeing, the movement that you're seeing on LinkedIn right now? I see a lot of people struggling, like not struggling, but they're getting on and they're a little bit confused because they're seeing much more humanistic approaches. You know, they originally thought LinkedIn, oh my gosh, it's all about business. Here's my profile, here's my picture, and here's what I do. But LinkedIn is so much more than that. We have people truly conversing with each other, sharing their knowledge, sharing their tips, sharing who they are, though, like you said, sharing the humanistic side of things. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
I see that almost as a movement across different social media channels. I think there's a reason that Instagram stories is performing a lot better than the newsfeed, because you see this person in a 3D dimension. I think LinkedIn the same. And that's why LinkedIn, like, if you are not doing a LinkedIn video, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to get started, to start producing LinkedIn video natively, or like pre-recorded video, and post or apply to have access to LinkedIn Live. So LinkedIn, the algorithm is really working hard to promote video content. My video content actually performs the best on LinkedIn. So definitely take advantage of LinkedIn and to humanize who you are. And I think as you are humanizing who you are, also try to bring in some of your business element. So I do like motivational talks, all those things, but everything I share, again, goes back to what we discussed at the beginning of this interview, is related to education. So like, for example, one of the recent videos I did, I discussed why 50% of American universities will go bankrupt in the next 10 to 15 years. And it was a prediction made by a business school professor at Harvard University. So I talked about that. There was also an element of motivational, because I believe the best education happens outside the classroom. So it was motivational. I also humanized myself, share my own voice, but also within my own lane of education. So I think, sometimes I got tired of everyone's on LinkedIn talking about motivational messages, but LinkedIn is not a motivational. I mean, it is motivational, but it is not purely motivational. It is motivational within the parameter of a business environment. So I'll always keep that in mind. And as you are humanizing who you are, as you are sharing stories, as you are sharing tips, always go back to the lane, to whatever field that you want to become established. Because let's be honest, the ultimate reason for us to be on social media is to generate business, is to make money, is to create income. It is important. Nobody wants to be on social media. Hey, this is so fun, which is great, right? But if you are pursuing this as a businesswoman, as a businessman, you have to keep your business in mind, even when you are trying to be funny, when you are trying to be motivational, when you are trying to share whatever content, has to be within your lane. So always keep that in mind, which is also the mistake I made. I used to just like talk about funny stuff or motivational stuff, but it didn't get me anywhere. But now I have become a lot more intentional. Money started to come, and clients and speaking engagement. Now I'm building my own school. So yeah, so humanizing yourself, sharing stories, but don't forget why we are on social media. Yeah.
I think that's very, very important. And like Tim Allison said, being intentional. We can be motivating when we speak, but we have to be cognizant of that we're on social media, like you said, for a reason. We're on there to share our knowledge and to, like you said, to attract the type clientele that need our services. And so it's a nice marriage between, you know, being uplifting, but at the same time making sure to stay in our lane. And because if we don't, then also it becomes confusing. People are like, what is it you do?
Exactly. Like this, I think it was in July, I had Brent Fenzel on my show. I don't know if you know him, but he's an amazing guy. He's a keynote speaker. He's really well known in the social media space. And he shared something really profound. I cannot agree more with him. He said, no bank will allow you to go to this bank to deposit. You know what? I have 5,000 followers or 50,000 followers on LinkedIn and give me that money. Nobody will allow you. No bank will allow you to do that, right? So always keep that in mind. And even if you are LinkedIn famous, Instagram famous, so what? Ask yourself that question. Are you attracting the right audience to purchase from you, to buy service or products from you? Whatever you do, are you attracting the right people to follow you? So go beyond the vanity metrics and to really ask yourself this, so what is this number going to bring me, and what does this number even mean in terms of my business development?
Exactly. You know, if we want just to feel good, there are lots of ways to feel good than someone just pressing the heart for us. You know, we're on there for an intentional. We're on there for an intentional reason. So let's go back to Classroom with
just like
Without
to
Walls for a
follow up
little.
on that, if I can just go follow up on that. You know, on Instagram, like I think 6 or 8 countries already removed the number of likes, right? Canada, a few countries. You never know if the same thing is going to happen on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter. You never know, right? So I think maybe also globally we are moving away from all those vanity metrics to go deeper, to really look at meaningful engagement, conversion rate, and to don't be so obsessed with numbers. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's all the way around from a personal standpoint on Facebook as well. You know, there are a lot of people and friends that I have, and family that I have back in California, where, you know, it's hard not to see those likes and things and then go, oh, nobody saw it. And it can almost backfire, you know, to think instead of you posting something because you wanted to share a piece of you, you're now so focused on that feel good, you know, feeling of I don't know, getting 50 likes. And if you don't get it, then you get just the opposite result where you're like, oh, well, this must have really just today, you know, like no one must care or nothing, you know. So I find that we have to be very observant of and keep our emotions in check, because like you said, it isn't about the likes and the follows. It's not about the comments. It's about who are we hitting, what is their want, what is their why, and are we able to service them? Because if you're getting 1 million likes, it doesn't matter if no one's buying your service.
Absolutely, especially for young children. I think I interact with undergraduate students all the time, and they are really affected by Instagram, like how many likes they get. And it is almost like if they don't get enough likes or comments, it is destroying their own identity. And I overheard students, oh, I didn't get enough likes, I deleted that picture. I was like, most of us wouldn't do that, but I can see how that is affecting their self-worth or even identity, you know, like you just never, yeah. So I agree, yeah.
So how is Classroom Without Walls fitting into all this? You're helping current educators, correct? And those that want to help their students as well?
Yeah, so I really, so I work with education professionals in many different ways. So I'm really like the bridge between education and social media to help teachers and school leaders to really understand how they can incorporate social media into their classrooms to enhance student engagement, right? To connect with our students where they are. So a few weeks ago, I was at an Adobe event, and at that event, I learned 75% of our students prefer to learn from YouTube compared to, like, you know, in-person activities, exercise. I think that is how the young generation used to consume information and knowledge, you know, self-paced, self-demand learning. So I'm trying to help all those teachers and school leaders to really understand how they can speak in a way to connect with the young audience. And also I work with school leaders to use social media, to be on LinkedIn, to humanize who they are, to humanize their school. So again, like I think in the future, when students are choosing which school they are going to attend, students will also Google the specific teachers on different social media channels to see if they actually have the social proof to back up their academic degrees, because that is a huge problem in our education space. I hate to say this, but I think we have way too many educators who just talk, who have no idea what is going on, in the real life. So I think, social media offers a way to kind of, call those teachers out. You can Google those teachers, and for the teachers who are just purely academics, I don't think they are going to have enough students to take their classes. So I see that as a movement. So that is what I help the teachers and school leaders to understand. So besides that, I'm also building my own school, which is a huge endeavor and on my end. And the first program, as I mentioned earlier, is a 10-day immersion program in Singapore. I really want to force our students in the United States to go outside to a different country to travel. That's why I chose Singapore. Besides being a vibrant startup like country, culture, environment, but also to force our students to be outside of their comfort zone, because I believe magic happens outside of our comfort zone. So I'm really excited about building that program. Students will be learning and receiving scholarships and interacting with Microsoft and a bunch of startup companies in Singapore, and at the same time earn 3 college credits.
That's just phenomenal. It's truly, truly, truly amazing. And I couldn't agree with you. I think the more we go on in our education system, I believe it's more going to be like a business. Like you're interviewing the people that you're going to be learning from, because it is so true nowadays. There are so many people in higher education that they teach from the books, but they don't actually do it themselves. And like you said, every child learns differently. Some are auditory learners, some are visual learners, and we have to capitalize that and make sure we're giving them the tools that they need in order to learn it appropriate. I always tell people, and I've had this conversation with you, why do you have to sit in a desk? Because somebody told you so? And I mean, I don't want to be rude about it, but some kids don't learn that way, and that's okay.
Exactly.
We have to make sure that they're fostering education in the way that they need to receive it.
I so agree. I actually just watched a TED Talk yesterday. So that person was making a very compelling point. So the speaker asked the audience, when was the last time that you had a brilliant idea? So people say, well, I was taking a shower, like walking my dog, cooking my food, this and that. Nobody mentioned at work, right? So I like almost all of us, we gained our creative ideas outside of our immediate educational school environment or work environment. I truly believe, for any transformation to happen, the heart has to be poked, the heart has to be inspired, and you cannot do that by sitting on your chair inside the classroom or in front of your computer at your organization. And it is now how human beings are wired. And for transformation to happen, the heart has to be a part of that. So that's why I believe the best education, we gain the most brilliant ideas outside of this formal structured environment, school or at work.
Exactly. Well, we have come to that time. It has flown by. We have been so honored and blessed to have you on. I want you to let everybody know where they can find you on the social media platforms and your website as well, because I want them to check out Classroom Without Walls.
Thank you so much. So my social media channel handles is the same across social media platforms. It is my name, AI, like artificial intelligence, right? That's easier to remember. So AI, ADDYSONZHANG, just my name here on all the different social media platforms and including my website.
Perfect. And I would love for you to leave them one last tip, What is one last tip for the future that you can tell future students, people that are current educators? What would you tell them today?
So I always love this proverb. So the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So whatever you want to do, get started now. Don't wait for that perfect moment to happen because it doesn't exist. And if you're waiting too long, you are not going to do this. So whatever you want to do, don't be your own barrier to success. So start now.
Perfect. All right, everyone, that's a wrap. It's been an amazing Friday for Fire Day here. We've had again, Classroom Without Walls. Please check her out. She is a wealth of knowledge. If you aren't following her on social media, shame on you in the best way. Shame on you because you need to right now. Again, it's been our honor and privilege, to have you on. I'm Vanessa Lang, your CCO of the Phoenix Factor and Girls on Fire. And be on the lookout for all that's going on with the Phoenix Factor. We will see you next week with another guest. See you soon. Bye.